Hey guys, what's up? This is Nate here. It's Thursday, February 23rd, and this week more and more details appear to be emerging about the iPad 3. So for a while now, we've been seeing a lot of images of LCDs that are being manufactured by Sharp that are supposedly Retina displays for the iPad 3. Well, this week MacRumors was able to get their hands on one of these displays, and what they did was put it underneath a microscope and compared it to the display of the current iPad 2. And from this image here, you can definitely see that there are twice the amount of pixels per inch. Then what MacRumors did was send over this display to a company called iFixit that deals with a lot of computer parts on a daily basis, and they were able to confirm that this display has a resolution of 2048 by 1536. So at this point, the iPad 3 supporting a Retina display seems to be all but inevitable. But where things are getting a little bit shaky is with the processor. A lot of people are unsure whether or not it's going to be quad-core or dual-core. Some reports are saying quad-core, and others are still saying it's going to be a faster dual-core than the current A5 found in the iPad 2. This week, though, an image was posted on MacRumors of a processor that has a nomenclature of A5X. And a lot of people were led to the logical conclusion that since it's still A5, it's not going to be dual core, it's just going to it's not going to be quad core, and it will just be a dual core with a faster clock speed. At the end of the day, though, I don't really think this matters. It's just nomenclature. It won't mean that it's not going to be quad core just because they don't call it A6, but that is still a logical conclusion. But to me, it doesn't really matter whether or not they're going to go with dual core or quad core. If Apple sticks with dual core and increases the clock speed, the performance on this device is still going to be great because Apple has such great hardware and software implementation that speeds are always very fast. And I think that even though Android tablets are starting to implement quad core, I think the iPad 3 with still dual core is going to be right up there in terms of benchmarks. Another image that was posted this week was a comparison between the outer casing on an iPad 3 and an iPad 2. And you can take a look at this image here and you'll see that the iPad 3 one has a little bit more thickness to it, and also the edges are a bit more tapered. And this coincides with reports saying that the iPad 3 would have to be a little bit thicker in order to compensate for that Retina display. But you can see that thickness is so minimal, I really don't think that anyone's going to be able to tell the difference unless they put the two tablets side by side like this. Also, then an image was posted of the front glass for the iPad 3, and you'll see that it looks very similar to the iPad 2, so the home button isn't going away, but there does appear to be a bit more room then for a front-facing camera, so hopefully we'll see an upgraded camera there. I'm hoping for something on par with the iPhone 4 in terms of image quality. I don't think we're going to see that 8 megapixels, but it still could be possible. Today, T-Mobile announced their earnings for the fourth quarter of 2011, and basically what they said was they lost 800,000 subscribers. So this is a big blow to that company that just appears to be losing subscribers every quarter, and they're attributing a lot of this failure right now to the fact that they still don't have the iPhone on their network, and that definitely is a big deal. Customers out there do love the iPhone, and T-Mobile doesn't really have a lot going for their network right now. They still don't have 4G LTE in any markets in the United States at this point. So for a lot of people on their network who their contracts may be expiring, a lot of them do seem to be jumping ship, and it's not really T-Mobile's fault at this point. They were hoping to be acquired by AT&T, but that acquisition didn't go through, and so now T-Mobile's trying to scramble to get back into the race, and they have plans now for a 4G LTE network to be launched beginning next year, but that's still really behind companies like AT&T and Verizon, although Sprint is just getting started, so I don't think T-Mobile's going to be going anywhere anytime soon, and hopefully they will receive an iPhone with 4G LTE later this year when it's released, presumably in October, and hopefully they can get things back on track. Next up, I'll talk about Microsoft Office applications making their way over to the iPad. This week, The Daily is reporting that Office applications are going to be on the iPad here very soon. They wrote up an article this week saying that they were given a sneak preview of what these applications look like running on an iPad. They took a picture of it, they wrote up this article, and eventually a Microsoft spokesperson replied to this, and they said that this report was inaccurate, and it was based on inaccurate rumors and reports. Then The Daily reported that Microsoft is just trying to cover things up. They were in fact given access to these applications, and then Microsoft finally replied and said this report is still inaccurate, and we will see why in the coming weeks. So because they said in the coming weeks, I'm assuming maybe they are launching something for the iPad, but it is still kind of confusing at this point as to what Microsoft is referring to as inaccurate. Maybe there's a minor detail or something in the report that they're saying is false, but they did say also that the image is not a true image of Microsoft Office running on an iPad. So I'm not really sure what to believe at this point. But we'll have to keep our ears out for anything here in the next couple of weeks. But I think it's a good idea for Microsoft to make Office available on the iPad. I know a lot of people would be interested in that sort of thing. Now, Microsoft at the moment really makes all of their income from operating systems and software, so like Windows 7. They're really not known for making hardware. But Windows 8 is going to be making its way over to tablets this year, and maybe they want to make that an exclusive feature of Windows 8 tablets as a good selling point over the iPad. But I know still it would be a good idea for them to make it available on the iPad because a lot of people would be interested, and it would be great revenue for their company. So to wrap up this video, I'll talk about Intel's Ivy Bridge processor, which according to reports last week was going to be delayed from April all the way until June, which may mess with the way Apple was hoping to refresh their Mac lineup this year because they're going to wait until those processors are released before they refresh anything. Now reports are saying that is only going to be pertaining to the dual-core processor, and the quad-core processors will still be released in the April timeframe. So this is good news, hopefully, for Apple. But one interesting note that Mac Rumors stated about this report was with the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Currently, that does support a dual-core Sandy Bridge processor, but hopefully it will get the quad-core upgrade with Ivy Bridge since it will produce less heat and use less power, so it can fit in that 13-inch chassis. But a lot of reports were saying that the MacBook Pro may get a redesign this year that's going to make it thinner. So it still may have to support a dual-core processor if the chassis of the laptop itself is minimized, so there's not going to be enough room for heat to dissipate in the internals of the computer. So if the dual-core processor is still delayed, the MacBook Pro, anyway, the 13-inch model, may still be affected. So thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Please like it, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.